There was, a definite decision that we were going to create a world that felt real enough for these acts to take place in, but that felt, had a nod to the comic book, had a nod to the urban. But I think the Misfits look sort of has a character all of its own. They are real locations and real places, but they feel slightly stylised and slightly unreal at the same time.
Tom Boyer is the name of the production designer. I think it's the world they put us into. It's this kind of very strange demi-world that nobody else exists around it. There's no iconic shots of London in Misfits. It's just this place, that could be anywhere or any time.
It's very much set in its own world. It's not a recognisable world in terms of it being a particular city or anything like that, which has set us quite a difficult task because we have to keep going. So every time a new location comes up, we find ourselves building it.
Misfits is obviously set around the precinct of a community centre, which at first we'd trawled all over London. We couldn't use a real community centre because communities use them as the nature of them, and having a film crew monopolising the community centre just wasn't going to be an option. So we were looking for a disused space that we could dress as a community centre. The place that we found is an old campus, university campus.
Yeah, Runnymede is a strange place, but it's provided us with our own makeshift studio, and it served us really well.
The beauty of being on this site of the campus is that there are many other buildings, so that we can create other locations that our Misfits inhabit.
I think they're all kind of technology units for a university, and we've turned them into nightclubs and police cells and all sorts.
The bar that we're sitting in, the hotel that they visit in episode 6, for example, Super Hoodie's lair, they're all built on this campus, and it means that we're not spending hours travelling across London to new locations. It makes the ambition of Howard's writing more possible to achieve.
The community centre is a huge space, but there's no one in it. It's been quite difficult to sort of carry that off, and how you actually design and dress that, for the non-population of that world is quite strange.
One of the things I was really keen to do in terms of designing the interior world, particularly the community centre, was making it feel like an actual building that the actors could interact in and with, rather than it just being 4 flat studio walls. I wanted us to build a set within an existing architectural space. And you can actually walk around the community centre as if it's a real community centre. You can walk through the doors, up the foyer, into the main hall, out into the locker room. They all interconnect as you see them interconnect in the show. And I think that was, again, really important about trying to find an authenticity and a reality to the world that they're in.
Hey, you started it. Hey, I have feelings, and so does my cock!
I think it's great. I think it's really authentic and gritty and kind of, unglamorous, but that really works because I think the whole show is about the fact that it's very kind of unglamorous, powers and stuff, that just everything's all a bit awkward, It is a pretty dull looking community centre, but it works, I think the design is fantastic, yeah.
I kept it really monochrome, which I think gives it a slightly unreal feel, in that no community centres are ever just grey. I suppose it gives it a slightly ghostly feel, but I think the main thing is that it had to have a truthfulness about it, like everything else in this, so that it makes, not that it makes sense of the superparts, but it grounds it, I think. It grounds it in a kind of reality that your mind tells you is real, although it's obviously not.
That's shit. You could have walked that quicker.
Yeah, the Super Hoodie's lair was a fundamental part of the jigsaw of kind of creating the world for Super Hoodie, which allowed him to operate in a superhero genre, and sort of taking him out of a domestic space and making his environment feel much more otherworldly. And so when Alicia first wakes up there, it's a sort of strange, heightened environment to find herself in.
We wanted to present him as a proper bona fide superhero, and to be a bona fide superhero you have to live somewhere pretty cool.
For the superhero fans out there, they will see elements of other films there as key references. But the idea was to create a very kind of sparse, slightly, if not futuristic, industrial and streamlined sort of world for him to live in.
We're trying to give it our Misfits feel. It's going to be, the walls are going to be covered in Polaroid photos of all the characters, and each one's going to be attached to a clock.
And in each clock signifies a certain character and a certain thing, a mission he needs to complete.
Right, mystery man. It's going to be late.
Well, it used to be a frame, and it's also stepping outside the Misfits, actually, and going into the real world. So we've done, big geometric, heavily patterned carpets, but we've painted our own carpet. I've gone with the scale, and it feels posh, but there is something a little bit uncomfortable about the sets, because, the windows are it's quite claustrophobic, that's what it is. It's got a claustrophobic feel about it. It's dressed quite, with really, decent kind of light, beautiful lights, all quite deco, so that stuff keeps it all sort of quite upbeat and quite, quite stylish. But there's a claustrophobia about it as well. So you're nearly in the real world, but not quite.
The production design is possibly my favourite thing about the show, because when we got together, the actors, we just did our thing, the five of us, struck our dynamic, whatever, and got our performances down, and then it was the world that they put us into. And I remember seeing the first episode in a little editing suite in Soho and going, wow, fuck, it looks amazing,
Do you know what it was? I like it because it was gritty, it wasn't colourful, and especially with our orange jumpsuits on, with the dark, the colour of the sky. I think it's just wicked, and it's just different. It's just not what's on telly, and it doesn't look like anything else. You know what I mean?
Because we knew the costumes were going to be pretty well the same the whole way through with the main characters, and it's that bright orange. It's actually been great because we've always known that, and you're going to work. You work with that,
Yeah, in a way, when I first started thinking, well, this is easy, they just wear boiler suits all the time, but then everybody freaked out a bit about it and was like a bit, oh, that's going to look horrible, orange boiler suits, should we do that? I don't know, it's not, And I dyed them all, so they weren't quite so bright orange, so it wasn't so scary for Chris. And we broke them all down individually, so each one slightly different, like Nathan's one, his is all covered in paint because he's quite chaotic and messy, and the girls have got slightly different shapes, and of course Alicia always has her belts and it's always rolled up, so Curtis has his vest all the time because he was a sporty one, so when you see them hopefully it's like different silhouettes, and sort of still, although it's a uniform thing, it reflects their character. Super hoodie, I suppose, is the biggest challenge. Yeah, just doing someone who's kind of got a look a bit odd and a bit like a superhero, but it's got to be stuff that he's found. You've still got to believe that he could have put that stuff together himself, and he can't be standing there in lycra with his pants over his tights.
I think we've always kept it truthful. I think that's the key word, actually. Kate was saying that this morning. I think that is the word. It's a kind of, it's gritty, but it's always set in a real, truthful way. So it's not pushed to a ridiculous degree. You believe it. You believe it.
Sometimes you really don't know what you've got until right at the very end. And you know, I mean, the Misfits aside, you know, generally, you generally get a sense whether your rushes are good and things are working, but sometimes you don't know until it's finally in the can whether people are going to like it. So it's a bit of a ride of faith in a way, and you just hope that at the end of it, it's what people want and what people like.